Today looking at the iPhone 12 Pro Max and what gimbals will it work with. A question I get a lot is what gimbals will work with the 12 Pro Max. Because it is a larger phone, the largest iPhone they've ever made, some gimbals won't hold the weight anymore and others will, but you may need to use counterweights. And so in this video, I'm going to try out several different gimbals and see which ones work best and which ones don't. And I'll show a test shot from each gimbal. This is not any kind of fancy footage, it's just straight up test footage. And everything will be using the wide lens, not the tele or not the ultra wide, but the wide. As a reminder, this is not a tutorial, I'm just showing if the phone will work with these select gimbals. And this is a popular smartphone only gimbal. I mean, I guess you could put a GoPro or a small action camera on here too, but this is the ZHIYUN Smooth Q2. And I've got the 12 Pro Max in here and I've got it balanced to where it's even left to right. And that's about the best you can do. And so I'll turn it on and we'll see how it goes. And it picked it right up. And just to make a note, all these tests I'm doing with these smartphone only gimbals will be with the iPhone with no case. The 12 Pro Max weighs just under 230 grams, and most of these smartphone only gimbals will hold between 250 to 280 grams. And so they should all, in one form or fashion, work in quotes with this phone. Now it is bigger and it's a little bit longer, and so depending on what you're shooting, you could run into some trouble. But this gimbal here, the Smooth Q2, lifts the phone up no problem. And now we'll try the Movi. The Movi is probably my favorite smartphone gimbal ever made. Okay, I've got it balanced left and right, and now we'll fire it up. And the Movi lifts it right up. Seems to hold it just fine. Okay, with the Movi, it worked, but you are seeing just a little bit of the arm in the bottom right-hand side. Now, I have always seen just a little bit with the wide lens. Of course, with the wide angle, you see it majorly. And so this works, and I would be confident using this. However, to really get the most, you probably want to push the phone out a little bit more, and then that would require putting on the counterweight system. All right, so now let's take a look at this little guy, the Vlog Pocket. And this is a little tripod on here, but without the tripod, the Vlog Pocket is about the same size as the 12 Pro Max. And so let's see if this one works. Okay, so that was a little bit tougher to balance quickly, but now it is balanced, and so we'll see if it lifts it up. Looks like it grabbed it. Vlog Pocket is a surprisingly stable gimbal. When I first reviewed it, I said the same thing, and it still holds true. It's holding the biggest iPhone that they make, and it's doing it really no problem at all. So this is a popular gimbal, and I still have a lot of people ask me about this one, even though it's a couple of years old. It's the Smooth 4. So let's check it out. My feeling is this is not a good gimbal for this phone because the payload of this gimbal is actually pretty small compared to more contemporary gimbals. So that's the best I can get it without turning it on. So let's see if it'll even bring it up. Okay, it brought it up. We'll now test it out. So the Smooth 4 here, it works in quotes. I think it is compatible with this device. This is pushing right up against the max payload capacity of this, and this phone weighs about 228, 230 range. And so if you already own this gimbal, I think it would be fine to use the phone bare bones like this, but I wouldn't go out and buy this gimbal for this particular phone. And here's one more dedicated smartphone gimbal. This is the Moza Mini S, and we'll check this one out now with the 12 Pro Max. All right, that's actually holding it pretty decent. So now we'll power it on. And it appears to grab it. Okay, so the Moza Mini S performed just fine. Now, I don't have all the different smartphone gimbals. For instance, I don't have the popular ones from DJI. I have a DJI Osmo 2. I'm not even going to test that though, because the 3 was much better. And then the OM4, the most recent, is better in quotes. It's a little bit different. However, from anecdotal reports, I've heard that neither one of those work perfectly with this phone. Now again, it's probably more like people are trying to use a case or put lenses and such on there, which these will not work in that regard. But if you use these gimbals with just the phone, just a very bare bones setup, in my testing so far, they seem to work fine. But now let's check out what I really would recommend with this device, because you'll have a lot more flexibility, and that is what I like to call hybrid gimbals. So for the hybrid gimbal, I've got the phone, of course, and then I'm going to put on an ND filter. And this is the Moondog Labs multi-camera filter mount. And then I've got the case from Moment. And so this is a pretty minimal setup, all things considered. But this configuration right here will not work on the previous gimbals without counterweights, or in some situations, not at all. All right, so this is the FEIYU-TECH G6 Max, and it's one of my favorite, again, what I call hybrid gimbals. This is designed for smartphones and small compact cameras and some mirrorless cameras. 12 Pro Max on here. And now I'll turn it on and hopefully it'll raise it up. And there it goes. I knew there wouldn't be a problem actually lifting the weight, but I have found with these kind of gimbals, phones are top heavy, and so sometimes there are a few issues with balancing. All right, so the G6 Max worked very well, and it's one of the gimbals that I highly recommend. And I would say it's probably my favorite, again, what I call hybrid gimbals. It just lifts these phones up very easy. It also will lift up compact cameras, and I've put my Sony a6400 on here too. So you can really throw anything at it, especially smartphone related. Okay, and now here is the Moza Mini P. And as you can see, I don't have it on, and I have the phone nicely balanced. Again, I wasn't concerned about the weight on these. It's more about the size and being top heavy. But this grabs it no problem. So the Moza, no surprise, worked well, and I think this is a great option, again, if you want to trick out your smartphone. So knowing I haven't tested every known gimbal in the universe, which one of these is my favorite and what do I recommend? Well, I gave a pretty big hint earlier when I recommended the hybrid gimbals, because those really are the best ones to go with this device because it's just so big. Those also give more flexibility, and so you could take that gimbal, whether it's the Moza or FEIYU-TECH, and use those gimbals with a variety of cameras, but also with this 12 Pro Max. That is really the direction I would go if you're buying a gimbal brand new. If you already have an existing gimbal, then several of the smartphone only gimbals will be fine. But as you could see in the testing, you'll see the arm occasionally. It's not a big deal because you could reframe that in post-production. But for best results, you may end up needing to use a counterweight to push the phone out further. And most of those will work with counterweights, not all of them though. So in the end, it really just depends on what your project is and what you're shooting. And that does lead me to one question. Do you even need a gimbal? Okay, not too bad. It looks pretty good. It depends on what you're doing. For certain things that could work with just handheld and no gimbal. But for more advanced setups or traditional filmmaking, I still think a gimbal is the way to go. But what do you think? Let me know in the comments below if you use a gimbal, if you use this phone handheld for getting smooth shots with this phone. Thanks for watching, guys. This is Blake Calhoun. Please like, subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.